You know what's happening. Don't be fooled by the idea that the dream was forgotten. The memory lingers. It's like an echo that doesn't fade away. What you feel doesn't disappear with time. This person tries to ignore it, tries to move on. But the power of that dream is undeniable. It returns even when uninvited. And what do? You wait. You wonder if one day this will change. The connection becomes a burden. The dream turns into a shadow that follows every step. The bond is fed by doubt. It's not a sign of love, but rather of attachment. And in the meantime, the cycle repeats. She tries to forget. But forgetting doesn't mean the absence exists. Each memory is an invitation to revisit something that should have stayed in the past. You watch and realize that nothing changes. The truth is simple. What isn't let go of clings. What isn't concluded continues. This isn't a matter of luck. It's a pattern that establishes itself. And you, in this game, remain on the front line. The bond only exists because you sustain it. Standing still is also a decision. Every choice reflects what you are willing to accept. You don't need promises. You don't need another new beginning. What you need is to decide if you will continue to feed a dream that doesn't materialize. And that decision is in your hands. Reality has already been presented. You know that hope disguises itself as illusion. That expectation, so familiar, no longer deceives. It's a vicious cycle, where desire is confused with need. You wonder how you got here. Looking back, you see a pattern that repeats, a dance between wanting and not having. She promises change, but the words dissolve like sugar in the rain. Time passes, but you remain stuck to the same song. That melody echoes in your mind, a constant lament for something that deep down never existed in the way you wished. The sameness accumulates like dry leaves in a forgotten corner. Meetings, encounters, promises, and you always available, always waiting for a sign that never comes. The light at the end of the tunnel fades, but you insist on walking towards it. Doubt becomes your most faithful companion. It returns and you feel the same warmth in the memories. But somewhere, there is a fragile thread of rationality trying to break the spell. You watch as she follows the same cycle. Ignores, returns, promises. And you, skeptical, realize that this is not love. It's a risky game, where the rules are created by those who refuse to play fair. There is no security in this nebulous territory. With each passing day, reality asserts itself. The cost of this waiting begins to weigh, but the idea of abandoning everything is even more painful. You cling to what was, to what could have been, and once again, the dream turns into a prison. The other side moves freely while you remain motionless. Her silence echoes. The absence is louder than any word, and with that you feel chained. You believe that this connection can be nurtured, but the truth is it only serves to keep you at the mercy of your own insecurities. Each time she appears, it's as if a part of you is resurrected. But soon you realize that the life pulsing is not real. It's a shadow of something that only exists in your mind. You're not allowing yourself to move forward. What seems to be love is just a reflection of what you want to feel. You can no longer distinguish between love and need. Affection has become an imposition, and this confusion becomes an unbearable burden. The idea of moving forward turns into a deep abyss. You look at your own reflection and no longer recognize the person who once dreamed of a future. What remains are fragments of an unattainable ideal. And so the routine continues. Glances, smiles, moments that pass without leaving a trace. You keep feeding the expectation, believing that an act of effort can change everything. Deep down, you know that nothing will change. The strength of this attachment is greater than your will to let go. With each new, promising message, you get excited. But when silence sets in again, disillusionment takes over. The pattern is confirmed, and you find yourself once again as a mere spectator of your own life. How many times will you allow this cycle to restart? You observe the repetition and realize that the change must come from you. There will be no alarm clock to wake you up. There is no magic button to reverse the situation. The bond exists only because you sustain it. Each of your choices keeps this dynamic alive. You don't need more time. What you need is courage. The courage to break free from what has become an emotional prison, to understand that staying in the same position is not staying safe. It is, in fact, a setback, and now the decision is before you. It's time to weigh what really matters. The cost of continuing in this cycle is high. The weight of this waiting is no longer light. The reality is clear. While you feed this dream, the other remains indifferent. Each moment you decide to stay is a moment when you ignore your own truth. The real essence of what should be a healthy relationship. This is not love, it is a continuation of a vicious cycle that only brings exhaustion. When the reality dawns on you, you realize that it is necessary to let go. The dream does not need to be sustained by you. What happened is left behind, and as painful as it is, you must make the difficult decision to end this story. Reality has already been presented. The abandonment of the previous story is deeply painful, you know that. Suddenly, the idea of breaking up becomes a journey within yourself. You wonder what happened to the person who once had courage, the one who dreamed instead of just waiting. You observe the remnants of what was, and the confusion begins to dissipate. The shadow that followed your steps loses strength. There is a glimpse of something different, but it's hard to visualize what this new path would be. The fear of being alone, of facing the void, echoes in your mind. Her absence is not a light burden. It is a space to be filled. But you realize that this space is also where you can relearn to breathe. The silence becomes deafening, but it is in this silence that you find the strength to rise again. You have carried the weight for too long. Each message received brings with it a whirlwind of emotions. You live between expectation and disillusionment. Each response is analyzed, each gesture dissected. Any hint of affection is interpreted as a sign of hope. But the truth is that these signs are illusions built on ruins. The cycle is clear and you recognize the patterns. She comes back, talks, promises, and you, always ready to listen, to understand. But now, there is a new voice that also emerges, a voice that questions and challenges. Why are you doing this to yourself? This inner voice may be uncomfortable, but it is fundamental. It urges you to look in the mirror and face reality. And this reality is not pleasant. It is raw and demands action. It's time to confront the truths you've postponed. How did you allow this to happen? What did you hide beneath the thinnest layer of desire? Dependency becomes a tangible concept. You realize that your identity was intertwined with the other, and the loss of it generates terror. What would remain of you without this bond? An extinguished ember, or a spark waiting to reignite? This doubt is paralyzing, but also liberating. As you navigate these feelings, other parts of your life clamor for attention. Neglected friendships, abandoned hobbies, forgotten dreams. You realize that time does not wait, and life goes on. The wheel turns and you stand still in a space that does not exist. With each lost moment, a new moment to live slips away. The cost of waiting for change accumulates. It is a bill no one wishes to pay, but everyone faces it when they look at their reflection in the mirror. What do you see? Their body tired of fighting for something that was never real. The desire to change is strong, but action requires more than willpower. It requires sacrifice and a willingness to let go of what no longer serves. And here lies the heart of the dilemma. Attachment is not love, and your attempts to maintain this connection are not synonymous with strength. Solitude is not the end. It is a pause, a breath. You feel the weight of uncertainty, but also the freedom that comes from letting go. The dream, though painful, does not have to be a prison. What was has already passed. And your life cannot be defined by something that never came to fruition. The echoes of promises may still haunt the early morning hours. Memories may appear like ghosts. But instead of fearing them, you learn to accept them as part of your story. They do not define who you are now. Acceptance brings peace and, ultimately, clarity. Walking toward the unknown is frightening, but imagine the possibility of a tomorrow where you put yourself first, where you do not submit to anyone's expectations, where the only responsibility is to yourself. In this new angle, the chance arises to rewrite your narrative, no longer as the dependent protagonist, but as the author of your own life. You decide what is worth it, what deserves to be nourished. The internal conversations begin to change. Remember, you don't need approval. You don't need the response of those who have caused so much pain. And when you finally decide to release the ties, you realize that this decision is yours. No one can do this for you. And thus, the cycle ends. Not because someone decided for you, but because you gave yourself permission to rewrite it. What do you do now with this new space? You choose to fill it with new experiences, new relationships, new challenges. And there goes that feeling that everything needs to be proved to someone. The quest for validation dissolves. What matters now is authenticity. This is the point that you needed to reach. Life goes on, and now it is yours. You have the power to shape it. What once seemed like a painful end transforms into a beginning filled with possibilities. You not only face the truth, you embrace it. And in this acceptance, freedom becomes palpable. By releasing what doesn't serve, you make space for what truly matters. True love, true connection. Starting with yourself, finally, you find yourself surrounded by a new silence. The memories of the past still echo, but now they no longer have power over you. Each memory is like a leaf falling from a tree, gently landing. You learn to see this as a natural cycle, and not as a loss. The days begin to have a new texture. The morning light is no longer a reminder of absence, but a promise of new experiences. You observe the world around you with new eyes, the people, the places. Each interaction becomes an opportunity, a chance to rediscover who you really are. Yes, the weight of loneliness sometimes returns. It is a familiar shadow, but now you know how to deal with it. Instead of hiding, you confront it. There is no shame in feeling alone. This is a space for reflection, and you decide that introspection does not need to be a burden. It is a choice, and being comfortable with that choice is liberating. The internal conversations change. Instead of unanswered questions about the other, you start questioning yourself. What do you really want? What makes your heart race? What could bring genuine joy? With this new approach, each day becomes an experiment. You try hobbies that were once forgotten, a brush in hand, guitar strings, or simply a book that transports you to other worlds. Laughter starts to reappear, even if timidly. You realize that you can choose lightness. That need for validation slowly dissolves like fog before the sun. Life has colors again. You discover that human interactions do not have to be a negotiation. They can be simple exchanges of energy. Friendships form. New bonds emerge. Each connection is a step out of the darkness. But the journey is not linear. There are moments when you relapse. The echo of unfulfilled promises still whispers. Sometimes uncertainties return, like a wave breaking on the shore. But now you no longer drown. You swim, breathe, and let the wave pass. Recognizing these feelings is part of the process. Realizing that they are valid but do not define your reality. One day you meet someone who makes your heart race. It is not a copy of what was. It is something new, something fresh. The connection arises, but this time you are alert. You do not project your expectations. You do not expect the other person to fill any void. It is a meeting between two whole souls, and that is liberating. You share laughs, stories, and experiences, but fundamentally you see yourself first. This new you is not at the mercy. You are not worried about pleasing. You are exposed but strong, and this creates a safe space for the other person to be authentic as well. You realize that vulnerability can be an act of courage, not of weakness. The love that flourishes there is not based on empty promises. It is built on mutual trust and respect for each other's space. This relationship is not a continuation of the past, but a new narrative. You support each other, explore, and go together, but each respects the individuality of the other. Meanwhile, you begin to traverse paths previously unknown. Travel becomes an adventure, and the new landscapes feed your soul in an unexpected way. The world is full of beauty, and you are part of it. Each step out of your comfort zone brings a taste of freedom, the freedom to be yourself. And loneliness, it becomes an old friend, not your enemy. Moments alone are now opportunities for self-discovery. You learn to dance between presence and absence, knowing that each has its value. The silences no longer haunt, but rather offer a space to hear your inner voice. Over time, the weight of memories becomes light. They are no longer tied to sadness, but have transformed into lessons, memories of deep learning, a reminder that true love begins within you. You rebuild yourself. You rewrite yourself. The story of the past does not disappear. It simply reshapes. What was once pain is now wisdom. What was once loss has transformed into growth. You do not erase the memory, but integrate it. It becomes a part of who you are. And so when you look back, you see not only shadows, but also light. Every step taken is a testament to your strength, the ability to let go, to release, and to embrace a new future. Now, when you think of the other, there is no more pain, there is gratitude for the experience lived. The certainty that you did your best, and now you are ready for the next phase. New memories are on the way, new adventures on the horizon. Life is not linear, but a mosaic of experiences. You choose how each piece fits. And finally, you understand that the power to shape your story has always been yours. What you do with it now is pure magic.